Aisha Bello woke before the city did, not because she wanted to, but because the city never truly slept. The concrete beneath the flyover was cold, even after a night without rain. She folded her thin cardigan carefully, the way her mother once taught her, and tucked it into a torn backpack that carried everything she owned and everything she had lost. She was 17, though no document proved it. The only proof lived in her memory. Her mother counting her age softly while brushing her hair, years before hospitals began asking for money before mercy. By 5:45 a.m., the rush began. Shoes clicked, engines roared, phones rang. People walked past her every day, eyes fixed forward, minds busy with meetings, deadlines, and survival of a different kind. Aisha learned to stay small. When she begged, she attracted danger. When she cried, people accused her of manipulation. Silence became her armor. She stood near the traffic light, not asking for money, just existing. Some days she earned coins. Most days she earned nothing but looks of discomfort. She never followed anyone with her eyes too long. Hope, she had learned, was a dangerous habit. At night, hunger hurt less than memory. Her mother, Zainab Bello, used to sell roasted corn near a bus stop not far from here. They had laughed once. They had planned once. Then Zainab collapsed on a rainy evening. The hospital asked for payment first. By the time Aisha returned with borrowed money, the bed was empty. After that, doors closed quickly. The city took her in without welcoming her, and every day it passed her. Ronke Adebayo walked the same route every morning, heels sharp against the pavement, perfume trailing confidence. She worked in finance and believed kindness should be organized, not spontaneous. She had seen the girl under the flyover many times and had trained herself not to look. Kunle Martins, a dispatch writer, often stopped nearby to adjust his helmet. He told himself the girl looked strong. Strong people survived. Pastor Daniel Okori drove past in a black SUV, sermons rehearsed in his head. He spoke often about love, but rarely slowed down enough to practice it. None of them were cruel people. They were busy people. And busy people passed Aisha Bello every day. Maya Stone was already late when she noticed the girl. She had been walking fast, annoyed at herself for oversleeping, mentally rearranging her filming schedule. The city was loud in that impatient way only weekday mornings could be. Horns blared, shoes slapped pavement, umbrellas bumped shoulders. Everyone was moving somewhere important. Then it rained. Not the dramatic kind that floods streets, just a cold, soaking drizzle that made people curse under their breath. Maya slowed instinctively, lifting her jacket hood. That was when she saw the girl standing beneath the flyover. The girl wasn't sitting, she wasn't begging, she wasn't holding out a cup or cardboard sign. She was just standing there, arms crossed tightly over her chest, her shoes visibly worn, hair damp from rain she refused to step fully into. She looked like someone waiting for permission to exist. Maya stopped walking. She didn't know why. She had passed dozens of homeless people in other cities. She had filmed hardship before. But something about the girl's stillness unsettled her. It felt deliberate, like a quiet protest. Maya took one step forward, then hesitated. "Don't interfere," a voice in her head warned. "You're not here to rescue anyone." But another voice, quieter, harder to ignore, asked, "When did noticing become rescuing?" She crossed the road. "Hey," Maya said softly, careful not to startle her. "What's your name?" The girl's eyes flickered up, guarded, calculating. Silence stretched between them. "Aisha," she said finally, her voice thin but steady. Maya nodded. "I'm Maya." That was it. No big speech, no promise, just two names exchanged in the rain. They stood there awkwardly until Maya asked, "Are you okay?" Aisha didn't answer immediately. She glanced around as if checking whether this was a trick, whether help always came with danger. Then she shook her head once. That single movement hit Maya harder than tears would have. They sat on the curb with paper cups of hot tea. Maya didn't film. She didn't ask questions that sounded like interviews. She just listened. Aisha spoke carefully, like someone who had learned that words could be used against her. She talked about sleeping under the bridge, about avoiding certain streets at night, about hunger that no longer screamed but whispered constantly. When Maya finally stood to leave, she hesitated again. "Can I tell your story?" she asked. "Not to expose you, to show people what they don't see." Aisha studied her face for a long moment. "You won't make me look stupid?" she asked. Maya swallowed. "Never." That night, Maya realized something uncomfortable. The city wasn't cruel because it hated people like Aisha. It was cruel because it had learned to look past them. And she had almost done the same. Moral: sometimes changing a life doesn't start with help. It starts with the courage to stop walking. The hostel room smelled like detergent and unfamiliar lives. Aisha sat on the edge of the narrow bed, hands folded tightly in her lap, unsure whether she was allowed to relax. The ceiling fan hummed softly, slicing the silence into something gentle. She hadn't slept indoors in so long that the quiet felt suspicious. Maya stood by the door, unsure how much space to give. "You can lock it," Maya said gently. "No one else has access." Aisha nodded but didn't move. Trust was a muscle she hadn't used in years. Eventually, exhaustion won. She lay down, fully clothed, shoes still on, heart pounding as if expecting the floor to vanish beneath her. When it didn't, tears came without warning. Silent, shaking tears that soaked into the pillow. She cried for her mother. She cried for nights spent pretending she wasn't cold. She cried because safety felt heavier than danger. The next morning, Maya returned with breakfast and a question she had practiced carefully. "What do you want?" she asked. No one had ever asked Aisha that. Not social workers who spoke in rehearsed sympathy, not strangers who tossed coins without eye contact. Wanting something felt dangerous. Wanting led to disappointment. "I want to go to school," Aisha said finally. Maya smiled, not because it was inspiring, but because it was specific, human. Over the next weeks, Maya recorded sparingly. No dramatic close-ups, no slow music, just Aisha walking through the city that had ignored her, standing at traffic lights, watching people eat behind glass windows, returning at night to the bridge, not because she wanted to, but because she had nowhere else. Aisha narrated in her own voice. "I didn't disappear," she said during one recording. "People just learned how not to see me." When the short film went live, Maya turned off her phone. She didn't want to watch numbers rise. She wanted to sit with the weight of what they had released into the world. Aisha watched it once. "That's me," she whispered, "but not the me they think." Maya nodded. "That's the point." For the first time, Aisha felt something shift, not in her circumstances, but in her worth. She wasn't being saved, she was being recognized, and recognition, she would later learn, was the first step toward dignity. Being seen as human is more powerful than being helped as a problem. The video didn't go viral the way people expected. It didn't explode overnight. It crept. First a few thousand views, then tens of thousands, then conversations. People shared it with captions like, "This broke me," and "We walk past too much." Offices went quiet as employees watched it at their desks. Students replayed it between lectures. Parents forwarded it to family group chats with uneasy silence. What unsettled viewers wasn't the poverty, it was the familiarity. Aisha didn't live in a faraway place. She stood where they stood. She existed in the background of their lives. Her calm voice unnerved them. "I learned how to be invisible," she said in the video, "not because I wanted to, but because it was safer." There was no villain, no dramatic rescue, just a mirror. Maya began receiving messages, some grateful, some defensive. "We can't help everyone. Why should this be our responsibility? This is emotional manipulation." Maya didn't respond. Aisha read some of the comments and stopped. "They're arguing about whether I matter," she said quietly. Maya closed the laptop. "You matter regardless." Donations began coming in, offers of shelter, scholarships, interviews. Too many, too fast. Aisha felt herself shrinking again, not from neglect this time, but from attention that didn't always understand her boundaries. Maya stepped in. She filtered requests. She said no often. She reminded people that Aisha wasn't an object lesson. "She's not a symbol," Maya told one producer firmly. "She's a person." For the first time, Aisha experienced something rare, someone using power to protect her, not exploit her. The video crossed borders. People in different cities said the same thing. "We have an Aisha here too." And that frightened the city more than any accusation could, because it meant the problem wasn't distance, it was choice. Moral: truth spreads fastest when it exposes what people recognize in themselves. Ronki Adebayo recognized Aisha immediately. She paused the video halfway through, heart pounding, fingers cold against her phone screen. The flyover, the traffic light, the exact stretch of pavement she walked every morning. "I've seen her," Ronki whispered. She remembered how she had trained herself not to look down, how she had told herself efficiency mattered more than emotion, how she donated once a year and felt absolved. Kunle Martins watched the video in his delivery van. He replayed it twice. "I thought she was strong," he muttered. "I thought she didn't need help." The words tasted bitter now. Pastor Daniel Accordi sat alone in his office long after staff had left. He didn't watch the video again. He didn't need to. He already knew which traffic light she stood by. He had driven past it hundreds of times. Regret didn't arrive loudly. It came quietly, heavily, like realizing you had missed something important long before you knew it mattered. The city buzzed with debates. Who was responsible? What could be done? Why now? But regret, Aisha would later understand, was only useful if it led somewhere. Some people moved on, discomfort fading into distraction. Others changed. Kunle began stopping, not to give money, but to talk, to ask names. Ronke started a quiet fund at her office, no branding, no publicity. Pastor Daniel canceled a sermon series and replaced it with action. The city did not become kind overnight, but cracks appeared, and sometimes cracks are where light enters. Moral: regret that doesn't lead to action is just another form of passing by. Fame was louder than hunger. Aisha hadn't expected that. People wanted to help her the way people helped causes, quickly, visibly, on their own terms. They wanted photos, gratitude speeches, redemption arcs. It exhausted her. Maya noticed first. "She's overwhelmed," she told a nonprofit director firmly. "She needs stability, not headlines." Aisha finally spoke up one evening. "I don't want to be saved every day," she said. "I want a future." They chose school. The enrollment process was slow and humiliating. Forms asked questions Aisha couldn't answer, addresses she didn't have, guardians she had lost. But persistence filled the gaps. Her first day was terrifying. She wore donated clothes, sat in the back, spoke little. Some students whispered, some stared, some were kind. Aisha studied obsessively, not from ambition, but fear. She had learned what falling behind cost. Every night, she remembered the bridge, and every morning, she promised herself she would never belong there again. Moral: help becomes harmful when it forgets to ask what someone actually needs. Ibrahim Lawal waited outside the school gate, with no camera, no entourage. "I knew your mother," he said. That sentence changed everything. Zainab had once given him water when he collapsed during a construction job. She had refused payment. "She treated me like a human," Ibrahim said. "I never forgot." He didn't offer rescue. He offered consistency. School fees paid quietly, check-ins without pressure, mentorship without control. For the first time, help didn't feel temporary. Aisha learned something important from Ibrahim. Dignity grew where respect lived. Moral: the most powerful help is quiet, consistent, and rooted in respect. Aisha grew into herself. She graduated, studied urban planning, became obsessed with cities and who they forget. She never forgot the bridge. Maya remained her friend, not her manager. The city changed slowly, because real change always does. Moral: survival can become purpose when pain is transformed into understanding. 10 years later, the city gathered beneath the same flyover, not for charity, for an opening, a shelter, a learning center, a place that said, "You belong." Aisha stood at the podium. "I was passed every day," she said calmly, "until someone noticed me." She looked at the crowd. "Please," she added softly, "don't wait." The city finally looked back, and this time it stayed. Moral of the story: every destiny is shaped not only by cruelty, but by the ordinary kindness people choose to withhold or
I
extend.
kindly plead with our first time viewers to kindly subscribe to our channel. And to our dearest subscribers, thank you for joining us again. Please help to like, drop a comment, and click on the notification bell to always get our new videos. Thank you.